In this special episode of the Butt Chronicles, we figure out how Beavis and Butt-Head went from a few small animation sketches to a full-fledged MTV animated series.
Welcome to Industrial Industries World Radio's The Butt Chronicles.
You said welcome.
Oh God.
Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome to the Butt Chronicles, your audio guide to everything Beavis and Butt-Head. And I'm your host, DJ Glowing Ice. So before we get into season 1 of MTV's Beavis and Butt-Head, let's figure out how we got there from the first couple of animated shorts from Beavis and Butt-Head to having a full-blown series. So we go all the way back to 1992. MTV was a cable television channel that had been on the air for 11 years. Up until that time, the channel focused on playing mostly music videos. Besides playing music videos, MTV also had fashion shows, dance shows, and game shows, but they were still based on some kind of music theme. MTV at this time was trying to be more bold and push boundaries and go beyond just being a music video channel. So this is when they introduced their first reality TV show, The Real World. Now prior to that year in 1991, MTV started an animation showcase show called Liquid Television. In this show, Liquid Television featured the first Beavis and Butt-Head shorts. After the first 2 episodes of Beavis and Butt-Head aired on Liquid Television, MTV was interested in making a series based on the characters. MTV was trying to find more footing and broaden their horizons with more variety of TV shows. So at this time, they didn't have a big department that was completely devoted to animation. Mike Judge had heard that MTV was interested in doing something with Beavis and Butt-Head. He didn't know what MTV wanted to do with them. He just simply thought maybe a few snippets of animations here and there and bumpers between actual TV shows. Colossal Pictures, the company behind Liquid Television, had first dibs to negotiate a deal. Colossal Pictures offered Mike Judge a contract where they would own the characters, Beavis and Butt-Head, and they'd pay Judge $2,000 per animated short. As one animated short that would be about 2 minutes long took Mike 8 weeks to do, he saw that that was too little of money. Judge blew Colossal Pictures off, and after some time passed, MTV had their chance to negotiate. Even though this was MTV, Mike was still offered some pretty bad contracts. But on the other hand, he was still needing a way to get his foot into the door. So after a few more negotiations, Mike sold the Beavis and Butt-Head characters for a fairly cheap price compared to what they wound up being. At the time, Mike Judge was just making animated shorts inside his house. Selling his characters to MTV was the best shot he had to get things rolling. As the original contract had people criticize Mike for selling at such a low price, Mike realized that MTV's lawyers had left a lot of loopholes in the contract. This led to Mike renegotiating his contract with MTV, and he wound up getting a better deal later on. So now MTV bought and owned Beavis and Butt-Head. They saw it was time to get some focus groups together to gauge if Beavis and Butt-Head would be a hit as a TV series. In late 1992, they showed Beavis and Butt-Head's first episode, Frog Baseball, to a focus group of teenagers in Chicago. In this focus group, the teenagers filed in. They seemed very unenthused, and as soon as Frog Baseball was popped into the VCR and started playing, they went from being very unenthused to looking up at the TV and laughing a lot. Needless to say, in these targets that MTV had focus groups for, Frog Baseball was a hit. As soon as the tape of Frog Baseball would end, some teens mentioned that the end screen said, "To be continued," and asked if there was more. One actually asked if he could buy a copy of Frog Baseball on tape. The woman running this focus group said from all of her years running focus groups, she had never had a reaction like she did with Beavis and Butt-Head. In contrast to their target audience, They also ran focus groups with other demographics. Groups of adult women found Beavis and Butt-Head irritating, and they hated it. When Mike Judge found out MTV wanted to do a Beavis and Butt-Head TV series, he was then told by MTV that they wanted him to run the series. Judging by their focus groups, they knew Beavis and Butt-Head would be a hit. So MTV ordered 35 Beavis and Butt-Head episodes. Some interviews I've heard Mike say they ordered 35 episodes, but in the Taint of Greatness documentary on the Beavis and Butt-Head Mike Judge collection DVDs, they say that MTV ordered 65 episodes. Regardless, 35 or 65, this number overwhelmed Mike Judge. MTV calmed Mike down and assured him that they'd hire animators and writers to help. MTV hired some writers and a group of animators, and this team, along with Mike, started working on season 1 of Beavis and Butt-Head. They gave Beavis and Butt-Head a half-hour slot at 11 p.m. For the most part, these half-hour slots would have 2 Beavis and Butt-Head episodes, and music video segments would be peppered throughout each episode. As each Beavis and Butt-Head episode were 4 to 5 minutes long, the music video segments were needed to fill time. Mike Judge saw the music video segments as a nice way to ad-lib and put on a little puppet show where he'd use Beavis and Butt-Head to comment on current and not-so-current bands. In the earlier seasons, Beavis and Butt-Head would talk about things that were happening in the music video. But as the seasons went on, they became more inventive and experimental, and the boys would talk about or do things that had nothing to do with the music video. So that's where we're at now. MTV bought the characters Beavis and Butt-Head from Mike Judge, and Mike Judge is in charge of this show, MTV's Beavis and Butt-Head, and they start working on season 1. This concludes this special episode of the Butt Chronicles, where we looked at Beavis and Butt-Head and how they went from just a few small little short sketches to being a series on MTV. Thank you guys for listening to this special episode. I am your host, DJ Glowing Ice, and this has been the Butt Chronicles, your audio guide to everything Beavis and Butt-Head. See you next time.
Industrial Industries World Radio.